Good morning. Audio update for the U.S. grain markets, November 29, 8:52 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Rich Paz with Critical Point. Model assumes the trend is still up for corn. It may be a struggle. It may surge. We have a variety of things going on here, big variabilities in some of these fundamentals for this time of year, but it looks like the trend is intact. Watching the 5-week average as basically the equivalent of a trend line. 5 week stochastic is overbought, trying to roll over for a sell signal. The model saying don't be too concerned yet. Bottom line is I think they want to challenge $6 or higher in the corn market, and we'll just give them an opportunity until last week's low is violated. Got to give them a chance to try to work corn higher. And now let's see, that was I'm looking at the continuous chart. Now I want to go back and double check on the March daily. And of course, some big drama last week. Very pleased it shrugged off the COVID news collapse there. I think the market could care less about the debt ceiling that's probably going to be discussed in the next few weeks. I think it could care less about the inflation report due in December 10th. I think it's back to taking care of its own demand. I do think crude oil has, I think the back of the bulls have been broken, the back of the demand side here. That is the aggressive inflation-oriented demand. I think it's over, and I think it's a signal that, yes, we're in a long-term bear market for crude oil. I took profits out of my shorts in crude oil just because it was a much larger, faster profit than I thought I would get. It has nothing to do with the analysis. The model is saying it's probably going lower. Problem is the model is warning. Yes, that could be overdone. Yes, you could get a sizable knee-jerk reaction, pretty much wipe out that $10 down move we saw, only to put it right back down again. I think eventually we see 65, 60 sometime next year. Just don't have to see it going into the close here, so of the year, of this year. So, but I think in general this could encourage people to say, let's not get too worked up about these inflation reports, even if they show them very strong levels. Probably in the future they're going to be at lower levels. So I think they're going to change your attitude there in the Wall Street as well as out on LaSalle Street and the commodities. Nevertheless, the model is saying, we can push corn near that $6 level here, and we can hold corn up until the end of the year. I'm not saying it's going above $6, but we have potential objectives above $6, and we'll just keep an eye on it. I would say give the bulls a chance until you see a violation of last week's low, last Friday's low for that matter, in the corn market. I will say the 5-day stochastic's nearly overbought, kind of rolling over here. I don't think it's really going to matter. We can have a level 4 decline starting today or tomorrow, and it should bottom tomorrow on into early Wednesday. 5-day average can be nearby support, but ultimately I feel like corn's going to work higher. Okay, now let's flip over to the March soybeans daily. Had a gap lower. They filled the gap as of overnight. It's bumping its head on the 5-day average. Indeed, that could be bearish. 5-day stochastic is trying its best not to trigger a buy signal here, but it's very narrow spread. So if they rally it some more than what we've seen overnight and close it near the high today, we could get a signal. If not, if they want to rally it tomorrow, we'll probably get a signal. It's below the mid-range enough that I'd be concerned it's got to go down to the oversold, and it is nearly oversold. So we could see some floundering here, but my guess is last Friday we saw a level 3 bottom. I think they're going to rally beans this week. Now let's see if I can get back to that weekly chart on the beans. I will say that even though I think they're going to rally beans this week, I'm a little concerned the beans are just going to kind of be sympathetic trade to higher corn and higher wheat prices. I don't think the beans really have what it takes for any kind of a major up move here. And while I'm talking to him, I'm having a difficult time finding my March soybean. There we go. So the model's saying it can actually top for level 2 this week. It could be over. The indicators, the 5-week stochastic is not overbought, but it's near and it's trying to roll over narrow spread. But hey, we're just getting started for the week. Okay? I think a favor up this week, maybe even into next week. I think next week's the better time for a level 2 top. And like corn, it could hold up at these levels near $13. all the way into the end of December. But I think from December into January, beans are going lower, okay? And I think this is nothing but a knee-jerk reaction in a long-term bear market for beans, okay? And I still don't see the La Nina story and the crop issues in South America, all right? Just don't see it. And I think this time of year, it is a soybean story. Some people are trying to already make it a big corn story, but I just don't see that either, okay? So that's the weekly chart. So watch last week's low. Trade below it would be a concern. Trade below the prior low, or I might as well just give you the price on the March beans. Trade below 12.38. I would say probably the market is topped for level 2. That even if it bounced back, even if it didn't want to come down much, it's probably somehow, some way going to work lower into January even then. Okay, so watch that low. The bulls need to hold that, in my opinion. Even if they break the 5-week average during the week, they need to hold it by the close. That would not be a good sign. And we want to watch out for a sell signal in the 532 slow stochastic. So those are the technical factors. The news side, not really coming up. What news would give us a sell signal? All it is the model saying we're more likely not to get bullish news towards the late December on into January, February, and could even be bearish news. In the meantime, it's saying we're unlikely to get bearish news near term, meaning just the next few days, next couple of weeks, something like that. So I want to give them a chance to bounce beans to create a December high. Let's put it that way. I think I want to sell beans in December. I think the model will be there with me, and that's what it's going to do. But just watch that 1238. Watch last week's low. There could be a sign this thing is rolling over for level 2. And it is allowed to top this week. And it does not have to do the ideal of cranking out a higher price compared to the last 2 weeks. It's off its high of what, 2 weeks ago? All right. It does not have to take it out, but ideally it would if it has not topped, okay, for this level 2. All right. Now, we also want to watch that if by chance it rallies towards $13 and takes out $12.97 by time at the level 2, it would be a warning that even though it should be bearish in January, February, it might not be all that bearish, that it could rebound by February, March, April back to that $13. So there is a chance to find, as I was speaking in recent weeks, wonder if the seasonal lows placed in October for these markets in general, corn, soybeans, wonder if maybe my bear market has to wait till almost spring. That we're just not going to be all that bared up. Okay, so those are some other things to look at farther out. Right today, I'll give the bulls a chance in soybeans. They ought to pop this some more. Not convinced it's got the upside of corn. I'm not convinced corn has a lot of upside. I think it's getting tired already, frankly. But the model, when we flipped, what did I tell you? That they would probably sell it as soon as they flipped? Well, we got the COVID news, they sold it. But I'm impressed with the rebound in corn, okay? And somewhat impressed in soybeans. We need some more upside in this because it could be just filling the gap and then want to go lower on us. And I must say, if you ask me, well, which market do you think you could be wrong on in terms of additional upside in the next few weeks or for that December high? And it would be the soybeans. I think I stand a higher probability of being correct on the corn of bouncing here. So that's the best I got for you there. Let's go to the weekly chart of the, what is this? This is December wheat. It looks like it's going to continue to work higher over the next few weeks, just as I showed in the weekly update. And now let me see if I can find that weekly or daily chart of wheat. There it is. Here again, could be just gap filling overnight. They bounced it, hit its head on the 5-day average, and sold it. So watch out. Wheat is way too high priced, in my opinion, globally, U.S. It's irrational market. It's due for a long-term top. And at the same time, I flipped and said, we need to allow a few more weeks here, specifically for the European market to push it just a little further, get it even more extreme overvalued, overbought. I think that's still an opportunity here. I don't feel comfortable of betting on the downside of wheat here, even though I'm not comfortable betting on the upside. The best forecast is there's probably another bounce coming in wheat. for at least a few days, and it's quite possible it's going to show strength right into mid-December to late December. Okay, something else we're going to have fun with on the very long-term basis someday here, doing some very interesting long-term research back 500 years of wheat prices, corn prices, some crazy things. And I must say, even though I've been telling you in the 2030s, there could be a major super cycle top on a bear market. Well, it's solidifying it. It's even more serious about it. But here's a wild thing. Learn that some commodities can actually put in those super cycle tops starting this year, specifically corn and wheat. Okay? But we still have to find, I think, a crop problem. So I want to say this year and the next 2 or 3 years here, out to 2024 still. But I don't know how much really bet on that, and it really doesn't help with strategy, trading. It doesn't help with hedging. I'm not going to go out and sell multiple years off of that, and we really don't know for sure. But it's fascinating that it's actually a high probability scenario. Makes you wonder, because if there is a super cycle top here, then it's also going to be the major long-term top, and we will not see prices trade above this year's high or whatever high we get going into 2024. We probably will not see those prices taken out the rest of this decade, maybe not even next. Very tricky information here. Probably shouldn't even be telling you it, but it is an interesting scenario. I'm having it tested by some affiliates here, and they're kind of fascinated with it too. Doubt if any of us will have any courage to make such a call, but it is warning that all this inflation talk, we could be overdoing it. We may not have problems for inflation this decade, even next decade. And it reminds me of what Cathie Wood said. She just doesn't see inflation for decades on end. We've got so many modern businesses, we can crank up supplies of everything, and the way the money system works, just interesting. So, be cautious all this inflation talk in the grains. It could really, really work here. Any rate, let's give it a thumbs up here, at least for the corn bulls, somewhat for the soybean bulls. The wheat bulls, I think they're getting on thin ice here, but I guess I better go give them a chance for a bit of rally here. Don't have anything else for the outside markets that could impact the grains. $1 in theory is about time to top out, but I don't think it's going to make a major decline here anytime soon. And it can go higher yet another couple of weeks here. At least I just told you on the energy markets, I think it's over and done with. And I think that's a significant factor in terms of how people are trying to speculate on inflation. So I think all these commodities generally roll over. But at least for the grains, willing to give them a little more time here for what I think is a bear market rally in corn and soybeans, but what is apparently still a long-term bull market in wheat. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future results. Let's take it day by day here to see if we can just push these a little bit higher. But be prepared that we're going to see lower prices by Jan, Feb, all three markets. Thank you.